Good evening, everyone, and welcome to All Things Sky Blue Transfer Deadline Day Chat, or the January Transfer Window Chat. I'm presenting tonight. My name is Mark Smith. As you can see tonight, I've been joined by Josh, who's regular of All Things Sky Blue, and Cameron Kens, who will be on board to join us to talk about that as well. And also, Jay will be joining about 15 minutes' time as well later in the show. Our podcasts are sponsored by Right Steel Fabrications for all your fabrication needs across Coventry and the Warwickshire area, but predominantly in the Coventry area. And also we're partnered with the Anecdote Sports Bar and, of course, the Sky Blue Tavern. Right, so that's the housekeeping out of the way. So we're going to talk about the January transfer window, and then sort of second half of the show, we're going to talk a bit about the season ahead. And obviously, optimism is certainly eternal in the minds of us all Coventry City fans. Obviously, let's go to you, Josh. Obviously, the main signing, obviously, is Grimes out a new player in Matty Grimes, Matt Grimes. Good sign, isn't it? It's just the player we need, isn't he? In that sort of position. I know we covered that in the Space show recently, but what's your sort of initial thoughts on him?
I think it's a fantastic signing. It's one of those signings where if you were to give someone a list of players you'd want to sign in the league, he would be on it. Certainly in my top 5 players, certainly in midfielders. And to get him for £4 million, that's the rumoured fee. That's insane. I think that's a fantastic bit of business. There's obviously issues behind the scenes at Swansea, but that's not really our concern. And I think he'll be a real asset to us. He brings experience, he brings know-how, leadership, Swansea captain. I think it's an absolutely brilliant transfer. Probably one of our best transfers probably since COVID, I'd say, if not the best. I think it's a really, really top signing.
Yeah. I mean, touching Cameron by the floods of tears coming from the Swansea fans. Obviously, there were a bit of floods for Coventry fans going to Swansea on Saturday. I mean, that just tells its own story, doesn't it? That the fact they're upset about it is great news for us, isn't it, as Coventry fans? We've got a lot of people forward to, haven't we?
Yeah, I've only just stopped swimming in my tears. It was really good. Not only do we sign their captain, we end that 75-year curse or however long it was. It was like when you beat a bogey team, you really do start to believe, I think. But the playoffs a few weeks ago, it looked improbable, but within a few weeks, we're in touching distance of it now. So a lot can change in this league very, very quickly. And I think having Grimes in our midfield, that gives us that bit of quality in midfield that I think we've been missing. Alan's been brilliant, as is Torp, as is Rudoni. But I think Grimes is just that bit of quality that we've been missing due to Sheaf's injury and not being at his best either. Grimes will give us that quality I feel that we need to push forward.
I mean, yeah, he's also, Josh, 29 years old. He's got, I think, over 300 appearances for Swansea. And I think it sends out a message that, obviously, Doug King and Frank Lampard saying a message quite clearly that, he's not happy with the squad. We identified an area midfield where I've always felt we needed strengthening. And to be fair, as Cameron rightly said, Jamie Allen's done a fantastic job, but this gives them real competition now in that midfield, and that really beefs up the squad quite nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does, Mark. One of my bits of criteria I had for this window is if we are going to do business, I felt we had to bring someone in with experience, not just in senior football, but in English football, because continental football and European football is totally different. And I think that Grimes, with the amount of games he's played for Swansea, I think he's only missed 5 games for Swansea in 300 odd appearances, which is insane. There's nothing not to like about the signing. And as you say, Mark, healthy competition is good. Would it be harsh on Jamie Allen to effectively be dropped? Probably. But it'd probably be the same for anyone because we're playing really well at the minute. And the other question is, do we make this signing under Mark Robbins? I'm not sure we do. I really don't think we do. So,
I definitely agree, Josh. I think it's definitely the Frank Lampard factor, because I think, it's just, for me, I don't know about your thoughts, Cam, but we've got a player there who's been at Swansea, I think 10 years or so, So, do you think Frank Lampard, in your opinion, Cameron, was the reason why he went to us?
I think that's partly the reason, but I don't think it's exclusively a Frank Lampard thing. Swansea, year by year, I believe they've been cutting their wage bill down since they've dropped out of the Premier League, and they've been on a downward trajectory. Whereas, although we started this season slowly, at least within the board, there was still optimism in the long term, and maybe Grimes has saw that, and maybe wants to jump along because he's nearing 30. So Premier League sides are going to be maybe a bit reluctant to take him on unless he was a free transfer. So maybe he feels that if he wants to play in the Premier League, maybe he has to go up with another side, and potentially that's Coventry. And fingers crossed that it is.
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple of comments from our audience. Thank you. And please keep your comments coming in. It's always welcome. As long as there's no swearing involved, it's all good. Got one here from Lee Dan. Makes a change. It's been the positive side. Obviously been used to losing top players over the years with Vic and Gus Hamer, or Harmer as it's pronounced, I'm not sure. And he also asked, any fresh players coming in? Have you heard any rumours of any players possibly? Opens the floor. I've not personally, but Josh, Cam, any names that
Only
Patterson?
Wow, him, but we don't have to rush with him being a free agent. I know that we're probably not going to sign that Rocky Samuel from Chelsea. I think he's going to stay at Chelsea now, and that's the only bit of news I've heard.
Yeah. Cam, any news on the grapevine?
I haven't heard anything. If there is going to be activity, maybe it's a young lad like an Aiden Dausch going out on loan, but that's not me, man. No, that's just a random hunch. I think if there's any business going on, it'll be outgoings of a youngster.
Yeah. Glenn makes a really good question here about, assuming that nothing changed in terms of departures, how does this season's transfer business now look overall? Is it better than we thought? Keeping our major assets and strengthening. Obviously, with Tavares has moved on loan to Burton Albion. Rating out of 10, Josh, for the this assuming that nothing else changes between now and midnight tonight. How do you rate our business so far?
Well, I put to Jay earlier on X. I think I said it was a 10 out of 10, but having thought about it, I think there's always going to be room for improvement. You can always go out and buy another body or get a loan player in. That's the same for every team. I think anything less than an 8 is probably just wrong. I think it has to be an 8 or 9 for me. Again, to go out and buy, in my view, one of the top 3 central midfielders in the league, for the price we paid for him allegedly, is a top piece of business. And there's been, talk around Latty going out to Burnley, a couple of others. Would Hadji have maybe had more interest if he wasn't injured? Maybe. I think anything less than an 8 is harsh. I think it's an 8.5, 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. What would you say, Cam?
At worst, it's a 7. At best, it's an 8. I think with Grimes, it's an excellent piece of business. One of the best central midfielders in the Championship. There's maybe only 2 central midfielders who I'd argue are better than him at this level, and that's Gus Hamer and Al Tanaka. But other than that, I don't think you get anyone else that's better than Grimes. Only reason why I might only give it a 7 is because I think right back is still neglected. And I say that because Milan, brilliant player, but he is severely overworked. So unless Burrows is being brought in to cover Burrows for the rest of the season, I think a right back is still required.
I tend to agree with that, Cam. I think, as good as Milan is, if he gets injured, our options really are Latty, possibly the right back, or Josh Eccles. How concerned are you with that, Josh? Obviously, Jack Burrows we've got to mention as well. Do you feel we've got significant cover in that position, in your view?
I do. I think I agree with both of you. Right back is an issue, but for me, it's a summer issue. You don't want to go out and buy, people to give Milan a run for his money in January. For me, I think January is to fill any gaps that might have occurred with injuries. Yes, if Milan gets injured, we're going to be short. I do agree. Burrows has shown that he can compete at Championship level. Latty is very versatile. Eccles can slot in there. So we have got backup there. If one of those guys goes into that right back / right wing back position, are we going to be a little bit our team's going to target us down there. Yeah, maybe again, but I don't think that's an urgent place to address at the minute.
No. I take your point. I'm just thinking if Milan breaks down injured, we've got say 16 games left this season, potentially more cup games, and depending on how that goes, let's say 17, 18 games. I don't know, being optimistic. I just feel that if he pulls an injury up, I'm not massively happy if you're using sort of fill-in players in that position. I'm a little bit concerned in that area. That's just my view. I take your point, but I'm just a bit worried in case we're playing players out of position, and then teams are gonna bully us there and try and take advantage. I think that's the one thing I'm concerned with.
Yeah, and I don't think either of us is wrong. But what I will say as well is, could you not argue that's the case for left back as well, where if either Bidwell or just De Silva gets injured, yes, you've got one that can play there, but I think left back's also an issue, which again I think is something to address in the summer.
Could you just playing devil's advocate? Could you move Jay De Silva, shall I say, into that right back position as a makeshift? I mean, that's another option possibly, but always he's left-footed. But do you think that's an option that Frank Lampard could look at? Go on, sorry, Kirk.
I think I'd prefer Burrows or Eccles there. I think there'd be a lot of occasions where Latibeaudier is constantly bailing De Silva out. I don't really trust him enough for left back as it is, if I'm going to be brutally honest.
Yeah. Right, got some more comments from our audience. Keep them coming in. Thank you for all your comments. If MV gets injured, our cover will not be good enough to push on. Yeah, I share your concern, Stephen. I tend to agree with that. JP Elam, thank you for this. King and Lampard, my fault building for push for promotion next season. Grimes, master playmaker. Look at Swansea's stats on possession over time. He was at Swansea. With players to come back, it wouldn't surprise me if we get quarterfinal FA Cup at worst and maybe a playoff spot late on. I think that's one of the good things about this signing with Grimes is, I wouldn't be surprised if he makes his debut tomorrow on Wednesday, shall I say, against Leeds. And maybe Alan comes back in for the cup match. Do you think that's a feasible option that Lampard might look at, or do you think he'll just keep Alan in the team? I'll go with Cam for that one and then go to Josh.
Yeah, I think we'll see Grimes because if in the cup match Grimes he's cup tied, he cannot play a single cup game for us because he's already played with Swansea. So yes, I think it'll be a case that Grimes makes his debut on Wednesday. Maybe he gets an hour or so, maybe a full 90, but then Alan is reintroduced in the FA Cup game. I would agree with that.
See, I'm quite old school, and we had this debate last night on our X Space. I don't think you should normally change a winning team if you're able to, if you don't have to, you shouldn't. But with what Cam said about Grimes not being able to play on Saturday, I think it does make sense for him to come in against Leeds. And then you've also got, on top of that, if you are buying one of the best central midfielders in the league, it makes sense to play him against top of the league.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I take your point, Josh. It is why change a winning team. I think I would probably go for Grimes because he's a ready-made player. He's played. He's not like a player who's just coming back from an injury and you're not too sure what it's going to be like. Is he going to last 90 minutes? I think he's ready. He's trained with the team. So I as harsh as on Jamie Allen, Allen. I mean, that's another topic of conversation. Obviously, we'll look at the players that are out of contract, and Allen's one of those players, isn't he? At the end of this season, I mean, he for me has been absolutely rejuvenated under Frank Lampard, hasn't he? His performances for me has been sublime. And I think he's a player I would definitely keep. And obviously, you've got Ben Sheaf to come back, obviously, and you've got Ephraim Mason-Clark, you've got Hedgie Wright. And you look at that squad, we've got a really good squad now, haven't we? We've got a squad now that really we should be pushing for promotion, but pushing for the top six, definitely.
Yeah, and not just Mark with the players that are coming back. I still think we're yet to see the best of, I think Rudoni can go up a level. I think Victor Torp is only just showing what he's capable of. I think we're starting to see the proper best of Ellis Sims. There's so many like Liam Kitchen coming back in. There's so many players that can go up another level or two. And once they get to those levels, we could be really, really dangerous. And I think we're just hitting form at just the right time to do that as well.
Yeah.
I mentioned missing me off in Sky Blue chat about Rudoni. I genuinely feel if Rudoni maybe had 3 more goals this season already, he'd be talked about as potentially one of the best creative outlets in the entire division. So in a weird way, I think it's been a blessing in disguise that he's only scored on 3 occasions. So then Matt Way, he is still developing, but it's under the radar without all the prying eyes saying how good he is.
Yeah. Lee's come back for a question about, I mean, we've already covered about the Grimes question, the Leeds game, but formation-wise, do we stay same as we are, like sort of 5-3-2, 3-5-2, depending how you want to look at it, or do you think you might go 4-3-3 for Leeds? Go for you, Josh, and we'll go to Cam.
I think I'd keep to the 3 at the back, or 5 at the back, however you want to look at it. I think if you are going to make a change in midfield, it wouldn't make sense to make a change at the back. I think that's too much change for me. So I think keep the same system, stick to what we know. I think I'm still not quite sure what Frank will do when Efron comes back and Hadji comes back, with them both liking it out on that left flank. But I suppose we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah. I'm going to bring Jay into the chat because he's just arrived. Jay, how you doing? You all right?
I'm good, thank you, guys. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. We just had a chat about sort of the January transfer window.
Can I just quickly butt in, Matt, just so I can remember?
Yeah.
Jay, I've changed what I said to you earlier, Jay, on Twitter. I've changed my mind. It's not a 10 out of 10 window. I think I've said it's an 8.5 now. So I've reflected. I was maybe a little bit over emotional about Grimes coming in still, and I've lowered it a little bit for you.
I think Grimes is an absolutely amazing. I'm still surprised, a bit shocked now, to be honest, that we've managed to pull that off. And again, like you, Josh, I'm giving it a high score, even if we get no one in for the rest of January. Doesn't look like we're going to lose anybody as well, which is fantastic, like we did with KP last time. So it just solidifying the squad is brilliant. We brought in a player that's flipping like this is one of my favorite players in this championship over the last couple of years. I've been facing from a distance with the Swansea fans. I just cannot believe we've managed to pull it off. And fair play to Doug and Dean Austin and Frank Lampard who've managed to pull this off and sell him the dream, and hopefully that dream is achievable. Again, for me personally, maybe a right back. It depends. Again, I think I just caught the end of Josh's conversation there. Depends on what formation we're going to go with moving forward. It looks like Frank ideally wants to play with wingers, so maybe we go back to a back 4. So then we don't really have any right back cover. I'm not a massive fan of at right back. Just a bit slow for me. And then we've got obviously Burrows, but untested at this already. If we were playing wing backs, maybe Eccles can slot in there. Right back, I'm not too sure. He's never really played there as a pro. Other sort of areas I think we could really address in the summer. So again, like Josh, I think yeah, I'm more than happy with just grinding and Patson maybe coming in as well as a bit of experience, a bit of cover. Again, I wouldn't give him crazy amount of money personally. Give him a nice short deal, and hopefully he can come in and sort of impact games as and when needed in that case as well. Yeah, so I'm more than happy. It doesn't look like we're going to get anybody in. Doesn't look like anybody's going to go out. Maybe an under 21 loan, but it looks like the senior squad is as it is, which I'm more than happy at.
Yeah. Another question I want to ask was about Josh Eccles, because he seems to have been frozen out. I mean, do you think? I know he signed a contract recently, but do you think his future at Coventry City could be? Do you think he could be moved on? Do you think, or do you think he has a future under Frank Lampard? I'll go to you, Jay, and we'll ask Josh and Cameron after.
I think he's got. Again, I'm a Josh Eccles fan. I think he over the last year I would have edged it. He was our best midfielder, even with Chief in the team, and this year same as well. He was he's sort of very consistent since he signed a contract. Ironically, he's been very inconsistent, and since Frank has come in, which has obviously been around the same time as his contract has been signed, it seems like raise his game a little bit. Obviously, you know, against Norwich, it was the overall sort of game that he sort of did quite well in. Obviously, Jay Allen, who I have, don't go through my tweets because I've called a League One player more than one on one occasion in the past, and he's completely proved me wrong, which is fantastic. I absolutely love that. So he's risen his game. Talk obviously playing very well. Rodoni, I think again his game has risen. Sort of Eccles is the one that I think hasn't sort of stepped up a little bit, and that may be a case of he's still trying to get used to the Frank Lampard way of playing. I would give him. I'm quite happy that he has gone out in January and he's got the next 3-4 months to sort of bed in and sort of get used to the system and sort of work back into the team. So again, it's always nice to have one of your own on the bench in the team. So I would personally think I like the fact that he's in the squad. You know what he can do, but he's just massively inconsistent. Like he came on against Blackburn. I thought he did really, really well against Blackburn. And then I think coming through the game afterwards, he came on and I thought he was terrible. Gave the ball away, didn't really break up play. Then so just that consistency, which I think Lampard obviously wouldn't appreciate within his game. But we know he's got the tools to play that role. He's a 6. I think he's more of an 8. I do think he'll be again. Hopefully, he'll sort of get used to the system and how Frank Lampard wants him to play. Again, I've said this, similar to Sims when Haji Wright got injured. It's a big 6 months for him. I was quite worried. Same with Kitchen. I think he's a brilliant player. In my eyes, our best ball playing centre back, and I was getting quite worried about them and their career commentary. I think Eccles is probably on the same sort of path. Really, he needs to step up and start performing on a more consistent basis and pushing top a little bit. Otherwise, there may be, Frank's coming with a fresh set of eyes. He hasn't got any relationship with these guys at all. So he may think, look, I've given you 6 months, you're not doing the job. They'll be taking this for him, I'd imagine, in the summer. So he may go at that point, which I personally wouldn't like. I like him to be around the squad. He's, I'd say, one of our own. He sort of knows the club inside and out.
He's definitely one of our own, and got a few comments obviously from our audience about Eccles. Mark, in the current setup, where does Eccles fit in? I think obviously that's the topic of conversation. Holding midfield in his game. We've got one from Chris Power. I'm just going to bring it up now. Alan's been great on his return. Before that, he was bang average. I'm going to put that down to the Frank Lampard effect. Got a comment here from Gary Anderson. Eccles solid player, but lacks intelligence at times and seems to pick and choose when he'll turn up. But he still has got potential. Cameron, how do you see Josh Eccles, future wise, the club? Do you think he'd get back into this team, or do you think it's going to be a real tough test for him?
Short term, it's absolutely possible. There are still 16 league games and potentially 19 should we make the playoffs, and potentially more cup matches. So there's me a lot of gains. There's still some like Saturday to Tuesday turnaround. So I think we're still going to see him plenty of times. Maybe get a few starts here and there. So yeah, he's definitely going to be needed. That's for sure. Struggled a bit with consistency, which is not like Eccles, but he's had a break from the starting 11. So maybe when he returns to the 11, he gets back to his best because he knows that these other midfielders have been pushing him. So yeah, I wouldn't be giving up on Eccles just yet. In some sort of weird way, if you're like an under 21 player who's coming up, you kind of want someone like Eccles in the squad because he's probably the only homegrown player who is a regular in our matchday squad. So I think in a sort of weird way, he's important to the team in that regard as well.
Yeah, I think he is. He hasn't had a bad season. I mean, I think he's got a couple of goals as well, but I think he's been a bit inconsistent. I don't see him coming into the team in the short term, really. When you look at the quality, with obviously Grimes, Talk, Rodoni, you've got Ben Sheaf as well, Jamie Allen, obviously we've talked about. I think really, I don't see breaking into the team. I mean, Josh Eccles for you is he? Do you think Lampard might move him on maybe in the summer? Maybe. What do you think? What do you think of his future of the club? Do you think he's still going to be part of his plans?
Yeah, I can see him going in the summer. I don't think it would make any sense to get rid of him today. I think that would be nonsensical. But I made a case a couple of shows ago where I think you could almost say the same with Tavares, where as a club we've peaked at a rate that these homegrown talents can't compete with. You know, the first season back at the Rico with Tavares as an example, he scored that wonder goal against Preston, and it looked like, oh, here's our next big star. But since then, we've had a playoff final, we've had an FA Cup semi-final, and it just seems to me like we've peaked at a rate that these players just simply can't compete with. With the money we've gathered, you know, these superstars coming in from the likes of Sakamoto, Haji Wright, Ellis Sims. Unfortunately, he's just fallen down the pecking order. I think he'd do a really good job at a championship side, probably bottom half championship side. And if he goes, it'd be sad, but that's football, isn't it? And I'd wish him all the best.
Yeah. Ben Sheaf, Jay, if he comes back in full fitness, I mean, do you think he comes straight back into the team, or do you think he might be starting on the bench?
The good thing about getting Grimes is with Sheaf, we apparently been playing with injections for the whole season, so at least sort of him back to full fitness, because he's, to be honest, his season this year has not been good at all. Really, he's had a handful of good games, I would say, for the whole year. So the season, I should say, sorry. So with Grimes coming in now, it would allow him to get back fully fit, which is, I think, a massive plus. And we know Sheaf is a quality player. He's been our best centre midfield player for a substantial amount of time. Again, I do think, depending on how Grimes performs, it also really depends on how Lampard wants to play. Is he going to stick to this 5 at the back formation? Is he going to go to a 4-3-3? Will he? Again, I think personally, I'll send it back to a back 3. So will he get to a 3-4-3 formation where he can get the wingers involved as well? And you may have 2 sort of effective number 6s where Sheaf and Grimes can play together. I think it really depends on what formation we play. But if we play with 1-6, being Grimes or Sheaf, again, I think that Grimes has been the more consistent, superior player over the last couple of years than Ben Sheaf and guys. I think, again, as a massive fan of Grimes, so that's the team. Obviously, he hasn't kicked the ball yet for us, so we'll have to see how he adapts to our system. But if we get the Grimes that has been playing at Swansea for the last couple of years, I think Grimes will probably be the number 6, and Sheaf will have to spot in the team. Also with Sheaf, I was saying that we should consider selling him last summer. Because I don't think he's a fantastic player, is because I think if a player is not signing a contract with 2 years remaining, rather than giving the player the power, and that will be 12 months in summertime, where we're sort of almost desperate to sell him to make some money back or get rid of him for free. I think the club needs to have a consideration about how players and the contracts sort of evolve. So again, with Milan, his contract will be 2 years this summer, I believe it's going to be. I don't know if he's got a +1 after that, but if it is 2 years, then you offer a new contract, and if they want to sign from, if not, they need sort of a contingency plan of, we need to get a backup for this player, maybe consider to sort of maximize the price. So I think the fact that we'll have 12 months on his contract, and the club will know if he is going to sign that contract or not, if he has been offered one. Maybe a bit of where he wasn't signing a contract, so he wasn't playing as much. It may be that situation as well. So if you know a player's not coming in, he's sort of not committing to the team, do we then sort of play players that are committed to the team, and we are going to sort of mould our team around a Grimes or whoever the case may be in that case? So regardless of the contract, I think every player, even with Haji, I think he's the best centre forward, have to earn his place back just because the team are doing so well at the moment. Different story for Mason Clark, because obviously technically in position at the moment. But yeah, I think any player effectively has to earn a spot in reality, yeah.
Yeah. So let's go change slight tack now onto the conversation about the season ahead now. So we've got 16 games left of the season. Obviously, got the FA Cup as well. We've got 41 points. Cameron, how many points do you think we need to get into that top 6 out of those games?
Oh, how many are we on at the moment? I can't think off the top of my head.
41.
41. Okay. I think because everyone is inconsistent, I think 30 points might be enough. But to be safe, I think you'd be wanting 35 points at least, just to be safe. But 30 points, I think, could be enough just because of how inconsistent everybody is. So let's say 33 points.
And bearing in mind, Josh, we've got obviously playing Leeds. We've got to play pretty much everyone in that top four. I think apart from, gosh, I think all the top five. I think Middlesbrough got to play. Obviously we've got to play West Brom as well. We played Blackburn twice. I mean, look at the fixtures ahead. We've got to play a lot of teams in above us. How many points are achievable? Do you feel that we can? How many points are achievable for us?
What, altogether for the rest of the season, or just from the top six?
I'm going to say rest of the season.
So we've got 16 games left, haven't we?
Yeah, starting with Leeds.
Well, if going off what Cameron said, let's just say 30 to 33 points. That's what, say, 9 wins and a handful of draws out of 16. I don't think that's an unrealistic expectation. Truth be told, there's no one in the league I fear. I just don't. I don't fear Leeds on Wednesday. Sheffield United, I don't fear. Sunderland, I don't fear. West Brom, I don't fear. I think we're in a really good position at the minute where, as I said 10 minutes ago, we're just starting to hit our stride properly. I think positions down to, fourth probably taken, to be honest with you. I think fourth's a little bit too far away. But I think fifth and sixth is up for grabs. And I think there's probably, you could probably go down to 14th or 15th with teams that can still make it. I think we've got a really good chance, I do.
And with that in mind, Jay, obviously Leeds tomorrow. We beat Leeds last season. Do you feel confident we can achieve the same result and get a victory on Wednesday, shall I say, at CBS?
Yeah, again, exactly what Josh just said. Lampard, I don't have a game to play at home under, hasn't lost a game there. So building a bit of a mini fortress at the moment, which is always great. I think if you can sort of have your home ground and not give away too many points, that's obviously always setting you up for success. And like Josh said, I'm not really fearful of many teams. I do think Leeds are the best team in the league, but compared to last year, I don't think the league is as good as what it was last year. It's a lot more competitive. And again, yeah, I agree with Josh just said there as well. I think 1 to 4 is pretty much so up just purely the fact that they're just so far ahead at the moment. But then when we play Sunderland, I don't really fear them that much. Sheffield United away, I think, will be a tricky game, but again, maybe get something there. Burnley got to come down here. It's going to be a nice little snooze fest, I'd imagine. And then what we've also got Leeds tomorrow. Again, I'm confident. I'm quite confident we'll go or maybe nick it 2-1. We tend to do quite well, obviously, bar the last game against them as well. And the lads are going to be up. It's a night game. CBS are going to be rocking, I'm sure, under the lights. They're all confident. So I think they're going to give them a game. And again, we may lose the game, but I think we're going to fight, we're going to compete, and we're going to show the rest of the league what Community are about now under Frank Lampard, which I think is the minimum that we really want. So, yeah, I'm just going to echo what Josh said and say, yeah, I'm confident that we're going to get a result tomorrow, and I'm sure the lads are confident as well that they'll pick something up, which is the right mentality to go into. Yeah.
I mean, what do you put? I'll go to you, Josh. Or sorry, Cameron. Sorry. What do you put this good form down to of Lampard? What has he changed? Maybe that Robbins didn't do for you. If you could pinpoint 1 or 2 things, maybe so far in his reign.
I think, firstly, Lampard has approached games with a more open mind because we've seen him change to 3-5-2. It's not really Lampard's choice of formation, but he realised the injury situation, so he changed the formation because he realised I don't really have the options, and as a result, it's made us more solid and compact, which means we're a lot harder to score against. But it's also not come at the cost of goals. We're still scoring a relatively decent volume of goals. We're just keeping them out now. And secondly, there's players like Liam Kitching, Jamie Allen, to a lesser extent, Efron Mason-Clark, because he was finally playing in the right position. They've been given a new lease of life. Ellis Sims was struggling. Brandon Thompson-Santner was very shot of confidence, but now they look very rejuvenated. So I think a new manager, it's given players a new lease of life. Like, it's a new guard of players, and I just think Lampard is the right manager for them than Robbins was. That's not me throwing Robbins under the bus. I just think it's a new era as of now.
And I think the other thing as well is that when if we were, let's say a season ended now, and you said who's the player of the season for Coventry City, I would say you could make a case for quite a few players at the moment, and I think that's a good sign of where we are as a team, that everyone seems to be pulling their weight, and that for me is really promising. I mean, another player thrown into the mix, Josh, is Oliver Dovin. He's just been inspired for him, hasn't he, in recent games, and he's helped win us quite a lot of points with some really important saves. I mean, the Blackburn game is one clear example of that.
Yeah, he's just a fantastic goalkeeper. I've probably not been this confident in a goalkeeper, and I do appreciate it's early days, but I'm probably talking Kieran Westwood days of a goalkeeper that's like, yes, that's my goalkeeper. We've had good ones over the years, Marco Morosi and goalkeepers like that, but Dovin just feels like if we did make it to the Premier League, he could very much hold his own in the Premier League. And he seems to be building that good connection with fans as well. He doesn't do social media or anything like that, but he just seems to get the club and he just gets on with things. And I think if he's behind me and I'm a centre half like Liam Kitchen or Bobby Thomas, and the ball goes past me or there's a one-on-one, I'm confident that Oliver Dovin can get me out of the crap, so to speak. I think he's a top goalkeeper.
I think for me his positioning's really good, and also he saves his feet. He saves different parts of the body, which is really good. And he just looks really confident. I mean, who would be your sort of player of the Lampard era so far, from what you've seen?
Again, like you said, I think there's a good handful of people. Oliver Dovin has come in and done absolutely phenomenal. Again, you asked the question of what Lampard done compared to Robins. Oliver Dovin, you can't really sort of explain how he sort of changed from. He wasn't sort of reluctant to come off his line and stuff, but the confidence he's had over the last couple of weeks has been absolutely phenomenal, and you can tell he looks bigger in stature. He looks more confident. He's coming out for balls. He's punching. He's catching. He's doing really well. But then I think Bobby Thomas in defense again. I prefer Bobby Thomas in the back three. He's been phenomenal this season as well. From Mason Clark also has been really, really good. I think Rodoni he's stepped up massively under Frank Lampard. I thought he was building a sort of relationship with Ephraim Mason Clark. They have a nice little interplay on the left hand side. Since everyone's been injured, I think he's really stepped up. As well, obviously, Torp over the last couple of weeks has been really, really positive as well. So, like you said, Mark, I think there could be a handful of players. And prior to the Frank Lampard era, I think it would be almost impossible to give a player of the season to anybody because I don't think anybody at all really sort of shone. But at the moment, it could be a handful of players, which is absolutely brilliant because you don't want one player outshining everybody. You've got a nice collective of players that are performing week in, week out. The defence are doing really, really well at the moment as a unit. If anyone breaks that armour, you've got Oliver Dovin behind them. Again, midfield, you ask Cameron what Frank Lampard's done. You can see the defence is sort of pushed up a little, so they're a bit closer to the field now. So there's smaller space. So it's hard to get through the midfield. And then if you pass the midfield, you get through to a solid defence. That's helped the defence as well. And another thing that used to do my head in, again, don't want to sort of disrespect Robbins too much because obviously the man's a legend, but the distance between the midfield and the attack was always so big. You used to have one player sort of pushing up and putting pressure on the defenders, and they used to sort of pass it around, and there used to be massive gaps there. So I think he's made the whole sort of bit sort of tighter, which is one massive thing that he's sort of done. But I think the handful that would be player of the season. Obviously, he's got a lot of games to play. We've got some small players to come back as well very soon, so they may want to have a say in the Frank Lampard era. But at the moment, I think in that era, I think Oliver Dovin's probably saved us more points than anyone in the period of time. So I would give it to him at a small margin.
Fair enough. Looking at sort of going to the matters off the field, I mean, the one person we've not mentioned tonight is Doug King. Cameron obviously had to make a big decision early in the season with sacking Mark Robins and bringing in Frank Lampard. And obviously, he attracted a lot of criticism from the supporters at the time. How do you assess his performance as chairman of the season? Bear in mind, he's given us money to sign Grimes and that. Are you happy with the work he's doing at the club?
Yeah, I would say so. I see some of the stuff where he's like in the squad photo. I'm like, is that necessary? But I think that was my ignorance thinking. That's maybe him showing his ego, but I just think it's him showing that he actually cares. And he took a massive gamble because even if we were rooted at the bottom of the table, I think sacking Robbins would have caused initial backlash because of the legacy he created, and that's understandable. I was very upset when he was gone too, although I understood the decision, but he's made that decision. He's took a massive gamble because sacking Robbins, it's the biggest gamble I think any owner would have been taking when they bought this club. But it seems like it's paying off, at least in the short term. And as you can tell, we've climbed the table and we're back in the playoff hunt. And long term, I've got a lot of optimism, and long may it continue.
You support with Doug King, Josh?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think that we're seeing now, as things stand, the players that have been brought in recently are capable of playing at this level. We're looking like much more of a team now. Could you make the argument maybe that for whatever reason the players weren't clicking under Robbins? Probably, you could say that. Like, doesn't necessarily mean that Robbins was the issue, but as I say, we're clearly seeing now that these players are good enough, and I don't think that Doug King and Dean Austin deserve some of the criticism they've had. Win a couple of games with our fan base, and all of a sudden it's sunshine and rainbows. People have very, very short memories, and I'm sure if we do make the playoffs this season, there'll be a few apologies from certain individuals. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the goalkeeping coach also getting some criticism because obviously Dovan was out of the team, then Brad Collins came in and he had a few calamitous games, and we just didn't know who our number one was, and I think that was kind of a bit symptomatic of the Robbins reign towards the end there, where he didn't sort of seem to know what his strongest 11 was. James Hollyoake makes the point about Lampard being a lot more tactical aware than Robbins. Not me, by the way, I don't think. Do you share that view, Jay, about Lampard? Do you think he's more tactically aware than Robbins?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, as I think Cameron mentioned earlier, he sort of goes into each game slightly different. So there's not sort of one way of playing. Sometimes he'll have his fullback tucking in to make 3, and one of the fullbacks sort of bombing on, and there's all sort of nuances in the game that he does. So the one that I thought was very good against Blackburn, where they made 4 changes in one go, and they sort of started to again the bit more. And then he made the change of, I thought. I was chatting to somebody on Twitter saying how good Tor was playing that game. And then literally within 80 seconds, Tor got taken. Eccles came on and he brought on Sakamoto, I think. And he changed the formation slightly. And then almost instantly, we started getting a lot more of the ball and finding space, etc. So he did seem to react a little bit better. And that he may have learned that against Norwich, who you can sort of effectively trust and who you can't trust in certain situations. So obviously he's learning on the job as he goes along as well. But yeah, I find it quite interesting that he makes these sort of changes in each game at the beginning, and he changes things during the game as well. Again, I don't want to sort of bash Mark Robbins too much, but that was probably my biggest critique of him was his in-game management, where sometimes, again, you see the goalkeeper goes down and the opponent standing around the iPad quite clearly just sort of changing the tactics and using that time. And then we never used to react to that, which used to be really, really frustrating. So he seems to react quite well within game to make changes to the team to sort of make sure that we are always on the sort of front foot. So yeah, I would massively that looks like he is a little bit more sort of proactive with his tactical side of things prior to games and in games as well, which is for me is a massive plus, I would say.
Yeah. Just changing tack a little bit about sort of the general transfer window across the Championship. Cameron, has there been any eye-catching signings that you've seen today that have impressed you?
Yeah, Burnley, by distance, they've signed Marcus Edwards from Sporting Club de Portugal on loan until the rest of the season, and I believe there's an 8 million obligation to buy. I think that is a really, really good player to have at the Championship level. I think that is a Premier League level winger Burnley have got, and although Scott Parker's sides are not the most exciting to watch, he is an exciting player, and I think Burnley have definitely got that much more dangerous in the second half of this season.
Yeah. Now, Glenn's mentioned here about Ian Ache, obviously formerly of Leicester, who's gone to Middlesbrough on loan from Sevilla until the end of the season. What do you think of that one, Josh?
Yeah, didn't see that one coming, to be honest. Yeah, good luck to the guy, I guess. Yeah.
But what signs have stood out for you though, other than what we've signed? We've done any other signs you think? Oh, I wish Cov had signed him.
Well, it wasn't done today, but I really like the Morgan Whittaker signing. I think Middlesbrough made the signing of Morgan Whittaker a couple of days ago from Plymouth. He's a player that I really like. But outside of that, I've not really kept up to date with other teams, if I'm being honest.
No, fair enough. Jays, any other signings you'd like to have seen come to Cov that other clubs have done business with?
Not necessarily. No, I think Borough have obviously signed quite a few players. It feels a bit scattergun to me. They've obviously signed an Inacho, who I don't rate at all. I thought he was terrible at Leicester when he was in the Championship. His goals were not good. There's a reason Seville are learning well, not doing well over there as well. So I don't think that's fantastic. And they're losing Latte Laff. So they've really Tom Conway as their main striker. So I think they've downgraded there. They've obviously signed quite a few wingers in that. The Aston Villa winger, especially very played too much, but what I've seen of him, he looks very exciting. They seem to have gone a bit Dean Austin on attack heavy, strange, that striker. They've got Hackney and Morris in the middle, but they don't really have any backup for them either as well. So as well as them, obviously, like Whittaker's been a really good sign. Like they haven't really addressed the issues within that squad, which is quite positive for us. We've got a goalkeeper now, which is good. West Brom have got a couple of players in, but they've lost their goalkeeper. And I think they're going to use the main goal going to be they've taken back off loan as well, which is going to be quite positive. Norwich have got one right winger, I think, and nothing more than that. So again, their attack was quite good anyway, but they had other issues with the team. So again, another positive for us. QPR seem to have brought a few young players in, but again, there's nobody that sort of I think, oh wow, there's a couple of good signings, but it doesn't look like any particular team has sort of gone out and addressed a major issue. Well, some teams can look at us and say the same thing. Obviously, signed Matt Gross, brilliant player, address one issue that we've got in that team, but then they may say you haven't got a backup for right back, and Sakamoto hasn't been around for seasons, so maybe we could address that area as well. But I don't think that any particular team has wowed me with their signings. They're good individuals, but may have signed players in positions that they could have signed somebody else to a particular position that would have done better for the team overall, I would say.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. Got a question here from Glenn about what's Coventry City's best deadline day signing ever. Any players that spring to mind for anyone? I thought Victor Torp was pretty good, to be fair, last season. Quite.
That Chinese takeaway was quite good, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that was.
I'll say that, Nick Mullane.
My bad.
That was our League One.
Truth be told, in all honesty, apart from Victor Torp, I probably couldn't name you one deadline day signing. My memory's that crap. So yeah.
Because we don't, to be honest with you, we do a lot of our business summer, do we? We don't re-sign players in the January transfer window. And I was quite happy with, I'm quite happy with Grimes, to be honest, although we'll see how the season pans out. Cameron, what are these signings that impressed you in your time of watching Cov?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Sean Maguire. He was so good. He's now back at Cork City.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Who can forget him? He wasn't an amazing player for us, but I think we can all agree. I think it's a good squad. I think it's a squad that could definitely challenge this season. I'm going to be optimistic, which is a bit unusual for me, for anyone who knows me, because I'm probably one of the more pessimistic Coventry City fans. But I feel quite happy. I feel like we're in a good place as a football club, and I think everything's going really well. Let's just focus quickly, last 5 or so minutes on the FA Cup against Ipswich. let's go with you, Jay. If you're Frank Lampard, would you make a raft of changes for that game?
Yes, I would. Again, very much depending on Wednesday's game. I personally, I'm not a massive fan of the FA Cup until obviously the latter rounds, a bit greedy. I want to see the big ties. But the fact that we've got Leeds on Wednesday, then we've got Ipswich on Saturday, then we've got QPR on Tuesday, and then we've got Sheffield Wednesday away on Saturday. They are 3 very tough league games. So the fact that we've got Ipswich in between there as well, I personally am not that bothered about the FA Cup. I'd rather focus on the league, especially in the position that we are in at the moment. We may not get a result against Leeds, very, very tough team, but then we've got to bounce back and get a result against QPR, who obviously are on a good blip on the last 2 games. So obviously try and hit them all down. And Sheffield Wednesday away is a ground where there's good success from. So they're teams in and around us that we can effectively almost 6-pointers that we can sort of really focus on. So I would make changes on Saturday against that Ipswich team. Unfortunately, we don't have a massive squad, so we're probably going to have to play most players. People like Josh Eccles will come into the team. Whoever didn't start, well, if Grimes will start on Wednesday, Allen will come in, maybe Bissett up front, etc., etc. So those players that sort of on the fringes would be playing, I'd imagine, more so. But then we've only got 4 centre backs, so you can bring in Binks, maybe take out Thomas or Kitchen, so you can play the other 2 also. So there won't be sort of mass changes, but there'll be probably 4 or 5 changes, I imagine, in that game. But I would really focus on the league games over this next week and a half.
Got a question here from Mark Tovey about if Mason Clark is fit. Do you think he'll be starting on Wednesday or Saturday? Anyone know what the situation with Mason Clark, or is he still some way off, or do you think he's on the way back to fitness? I don't know if anyone's heard anything about that.
I got told by someone keep an eye on QPR. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. I don't think we need to rush him back though, do we? Because we're doing well enough without him, and I think that's the same with Haji Wright. I mean, Haji Wright, obviously, I think probably our best striker. But one thing we haven't talked about, Cameron, is the partnership with Sims and Thomas Asante. I mean, they're starting to look good now, aren't they?
They are indeed. Both of them slow starters, but both of them, I think the day Lampard came in, even though he wasn't using them to start with, like regularly, he still gave them a vote of confidence, and now that's starting to pay off. With Sims, he started to come good against Cardiff, and that has continued. It took Asante a bit longer, where he had those misses against Cardiff and Norwich, but the way he's responded, his character can't be questioned. I've mentioned it a few times. I was very angry with Thomas Asante because I think my emotions got the best of me because of the context of that miss. But the way he's responded, 4 goal contributions in 4 games, that is a superb response. And the way he's playing at the moment, I think both of them could go on goal scoring runs. And the fact they're making it difficult for Haji Wright, even before Haji Wright's return, that is always so welcome. And it takes the pressure off Norman Bassett, because a lot of us forget Norman Bassett's still a kid who is developing. He's still growing. He's still getting stronger. That takes the burden off him, so he can now grow without the pressure he was initially on.
Yeah, I agree with that, because when he was playing, we weren't really winning games, were we? You get your goal, you didn't do as much, and we were struggling to get those wins. And I think you're spot on that one. I mean, coming to you, Josh, with the FA Cup. I mean, do you see a lot of changes to the team? Do you think Bassett might get a run? Do you think Rodriguez might come on as well, get a game?
Yeah, I think Raphael will come on. I think Bassett will start. Eccles will start. Probably De Silva will start. Binks, I'd say, would start. Interesting question for you guys. Who would you start in goal? Oliver David or Ben Wilson / Brad Collins?
Dovin, I think he's on this wave. The last thing we need is a shark to eat that surfboard. Let's just let Dovin keep riding that wave, because at the moment he is on fire.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. I agree as well. I think I've said in the last FA Cup game as well, when he just had to get a bit of form before that Sheffield Wednesday game, and I said exactly what Cameron said. Kid's on form. He's looking more confident, and then obviously, getting to the penalty, and since then he's just grown in stature as well. So I would agree. It'd be quite good for him to play against a Premiership team as well. I'm sure they'll make changes, but again, he'll sort of showcase his skills there as well. Again, Ben Wilson, I'm not 100% sure how fit he's training, but again, same thing what Mark said. You don't want to rush these players back too early. I know there's not going to be too many games for Wilson to play, and he's potentially in a new contract as well. But again, I think Dobbin would be the man for me in goal, just to make sure that he sort of carries his confidence on the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think if it was a Mark Robbins, I think he'd probably go with a Collins, or if Wilson was fit, either of those two, and probably give Dobbin a rest. But I think Lampard will go with his best keeper. So I think Dobbin did play in the Sheffield Wednesday game, so I don't think there'll be any changes. And I kind of agree what Cameron says. I think he's playing well. I think he needs to keep playing. I don't think we'll disrupt the flow of the team. Don't get me wrong. If we lose to Ipswich, it's not the end of the world. I think the playoff push is the most important thing for the club. You could argue that as good as the cup run was last season, that kind of almost derailed our playoff hopes, really, because we looked pretty tired, didn't we? Really, so that's the only thing I'm slightly concerned about. But that's why I'm kind of happy with the signing of Grimes, because then it gives more competition, and then it allows Lamps to rotate the team a bit. And when you got like other players missing that we've mentioned tonight, I think we've got a really decent sized squad. I mean, I think overall I'm happy. Are we all happy with the squad, would you say, going to the last 16 games? I think we're all pretty happy, aren't we? So
yeah.
I think what I will say as well, Mark, just to quickly touch on this week, going into Leeds and Ipswich, if we lose both games, I think as a fan base, it's really important that we don't overreact. There won't be any shame in losing to top of the league, and there won't be any shame in getting knocked out the cup by a Premier League team. It's really important that we just back this team now, because we're in a really, really good situation, not just with personnel, but also in league standing. Let's pack the CBS out this week, twice over, and just back the lads, because, as I say, we're looking really good.
Yeah. Any other comments from anyone?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Go on, Cameron, you go.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a wave of momentum. You can feel it within the fans. You can feel it within the players. Leeds and Ipswich, they are both very difficult games, but they are both that I feel that we can definitely spring a couple of upsets in. But at the same time, if we come empty-handed in both, provided they are good performances, because a bad performance still should not be tolerated. But if they are good performances, and we've just come out short, I think the effort should be applauded, because they're still playing well, and I think that would give them confidence going to the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, I would sort of agree on that. Even if you lose against Leeds, top of the table, I think they scored 60 goals in 30 games. So obviously two goals a game, which is obviously phenomenal. Haven't conceded too many goals as well, but they've got a bit of a dodgy goalkeeper. The key thing is in two of those games against Ipswich and Leeds, if we perform and we fight and we sort of challenge, we go toe to toe with these guys, then that's the key thing for me. We may lose, but you lose. There's a certain way of losing games. Prior to Lampard coming in, we were losing games at Wimper, sort of laying down and getting your belly full, really. So the last couple of games, again, even the Norwich game, it was a hard fought game. We lost the game, obviously with a class sort of strike, and the last goal was obviously may not have had that sort of fight, but since then we've sort of got that a little bit still behind us, which is fantastic. So if we go into that Leeds game, give up all, even if we lose, which I'm confident we'll get a result from that game. Give a good show on Saturday as well. I think Sky Blue Army is going to stick behind these guys, and I think most people can see the sort of positivity behind this sort of, new wave of it's a new wave of positivity going around the club as well. And then we've got two winnable games a week after against UPR at home, and then Sheffield's obviously going to be a difficult game away. But again, a very winnable game as well. So hopefully we'll get some more positive results, which I'm confident getting. Obviously not going to lose the game for the rest of the season, I'm sure. So we'll see how it goes.
I think all you can ask for is you go into a game like Leeds with one, including the cup, 5 games on the trot. I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that. I think that's the one thing. When you're playing a team that, let's face it, a Premier League side in waiting, you've got to. That's all you can really do is be in good form and be ready for Leeds. I think when we played Leeds early in the season at Ellen Road, we were just at a really, really bad time at the club. We were just nowhere near good enough, and we lost 3-0. I think this time we're going into that Leeds game. I think we will give them a really good game, and I think there's no reason why we can't get a result. And I'm going to be optimistic. I think we could win if we play the way we're playing. I like the way we're defending. One of the things I like about the way we defend is the fact that we're winning more offsides. If you look at our games we're playing now, we're pushing up. We're denying team space. They're not playing through us as easily as we were like the start of the season, where I felt we were defending too deep. And I look at like the Swansea game, we're 2-0 up, and you look at that second half, and Swansea did nothing. It was such a comfortable win, and there's not many games you could say now this where we've come away and you think, cool, that was a comfortable win. We weren't really under pressure, and that's really a compliment to everybody, the coaching staff, the players, everyone. I think all you can ask for is the form we're in is really good. And yeah, Leeds are a good side, but look, we're a good side as well at the moment. We're playing good football, and we've got to get in their faces really. So let's quickly go predictions before we wrap up for tonight. So we'll go with the Cup, Leeds and the Ipswich game this week. So Cameron, what's your score prediction for both games?
Firstly, I'm going to go with 2-1 to Coventry in the Leeds game. I think we have been scoring, equaliser for Leeds, and then we score the winner. And I'm going to go with a 1-0 smash and grab against Ipswich.
Okay, Josh.
Well, firstly, I apologise to any listeners that listened to yesterday's show because I cannot remember what I said. So I'm going to say Leeds. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win, and I think a 1-0 win against Ipswich in normal time.
Yeah, good stuff. Jay?
I'm going to be boring here and predict the same score. I think 2-1. I think it's going to be a game against Leeds. I think 2-1 win against them. I was going to go 1-0 against Ipswich as well, but I don't be. I'm going to go 2-1 against Ipswich also. I think they'll make quite a few changes. I think we'll still be able to grab the win there.
Yeah, I'm gonna come off the fence and go 2-1 against Leeds for us to win. But I'll be back on the fence for the Ipswich game. We'll go 1-1, but we win on extra time 2-1. So that's my view. But I'm being optimistic.
Another good week there. We'll give us the points now.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm not usually as optimistic at this. I'm usually very negative. So I don't know what's brought this on, but I feel a surge of confidence going through me. So I feel positive about things at the moment. So I think we'll wrap up tonight's show. So thanks to my guests, Jay, Cameron, Josh. It's been great to speak to you tonight. I hope everyone, thank you for all your comments tonight. It's been really appreciated. Please like and subscribe to our All Things Sky Blue channel. We have got another show later this week with the Ipswich preview. Don't know date and time yet, so we'll post that on our socials on that. So yeah, thanks for listening. Play up Sky Blues, and we'll speak to you very, very soon. Good night.